Status effects are awesome. I love games that let you poison monsters or freeze them in place. The more status effects, the better. I've been working on my game for over a year, and one thing has always stuck in my mind. I had to have it. Because if I shoot a tree monster with fire and it doesn't burn, I'll fucking lose it. Today I'm going to show you how I added these effects into my game, the design issues that came up and my solutions for them. Then, at the end, we'll do a big montage of all the spells and their cool status effects. If you're new to the channel, Scholarly Arcane Arts is an action RPG where you play as a wizard. You must solve puzzles to find spells, upgrade them in your home village, combine the spells for huge damage, and defeat massive bosses to save the world. Want to give it a try? The demo's out on Steam. Make sure to wishlist Scholar so you don't miss it when the game is released. Scholar has 5 schools of magic. Each school should get a unique status effect. And that feels right. First up is pyromancy. You can light enemies on fire, which will do damage over time. Next up, necromancy. You can poison enemies, which will do damage over time. How about aeromancy? I know, you can shock enemies, which will do damage over... Wait, this sucks. There's no distinction between the effects. It's just damage over time with a name change. Now, let's throw this out. Each school of magic should feel unique. And on top of that, I need a system here. My game is going to have a ton of enemies, and I don't want to have to sit there and animate every single status effect onto every single enemy. That's a nightmare. Let's make a status effect holder that I can drag and drop onto enemies. Each status effect should be set up in a way that works for all types, no matter the size. Then let's start with hydromancy, because that'll be easiest. Hydromancy will have a stun effect. Shoot them with dice, they're frozen. I created an ice crystal and ace sprite. I exported the top layer separately from the bottom layer. That way I can create the illusion that each enemy is inside the ice crystal without having to animate them individually. Add that to the status bar. How about geomancy? Maybe it can solve a problem in the game. Certain monsters chase you down hard, and it's kind of scary. Maybe geomancy can have a slowdown effect. Throw some mud at them. Boom. Gooped up and slowed down. This will give you time to cast more spells. Now, what to do about these guys? Maybe we can keep the damage over time, but we should add some nuance. What makes each effect different? Well, poison can do damage over time, but we can base the damage off the enemy's maximum health. So poisoning enemies who are weaker won't do much, but poisoning bigger enemies will show bigger numbers. I made a gross bubble animation, and I can just have it appear next to the monster. For added effect, I'll grab the sprite render of the monster and have it tint green. Yeah, he's kind of looking sick now. Now, aeromancy. Well, what happens when you get shocked? You stop what you're doing, to put it mildly. Okay, so shocking an enemy interrupts them. You can use this strategically. You see that spellcaster in the background? Well, if you shock them, they can't finish casting their spell. You've taken them out of the game for a moment. It might be fun to add a shader in here too for the shocked effect. Something about mixing 3D and 2D always appeals to me. Here's my first attempt at a ball of lightning. I followed the tutorial by Gabriel Prod. I'll put a link to his channel below. He rocks. How about pyromancy? I would like fire to be strong against weaker monsters. Fire should do what fire does. It spreads. Yeah, so if you have a mob of weak enemies coming towards you, light one of them on fire. They'll spread it to the other monsters, and they'll all go tumbling down. To create this effect, I used Unity's particle effect system. I added some red squares that slowly turn into white, float upwards, and fade away. 5 schools of magic, 5 types of status effects, and they all feel unique. Great. Now, how does the player apply the status effects? The obvious answer is by shooting spells at monsters. To be clear, not every spell will have a status effect, and some monsters will have resistances against certain status effects. Let's take a look at a couple of the ones that I've made so far that will have status effects. Ice Drill. This spell drills past enemies and freezes each one it touches. Flash Freeze. Freeze all the enemies on the screen. The duration of the freeze increases each time you level up the spell. Mud Ball. Shoot a ball of mud that slows down its target. Fireball. You know this one, but man, it's still so satisfying to watch. Hasha's Bubbler. Shoot a volley of bubbles out from your book. The more you upgrade the spell, the more bubbles you can shoot. You can also add status effects to spells that normally don't have them by combining them with other spells. Tar's Rock typically does not have a status effect, but if you combine it with another spell, it will take that Schools of Magic status effect. This is Pyromancy, Hydromancy, and Geomancy. Another example is our favorite spell, Thorn Patch. Normally these thorns don't have status effects, but if you shoot another spell at them, it will incorporate the school status effect, like Hydromancy Stun. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, what is that Vine Snare effect? We didn't go over that. It's essentially the frozen status. I just added a little window dressing to feel more appropriate. How cool is that? The next devlog is out in a month, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Don't forget to wishlist Scholar the Arcane Arts. That way you get alerted when the game is released. That's it for now, Scholars. See you soon.